Welcome back. This week, I want to talk to you about an ordinary day, just a Tuesday. Not the hard days, not the scan days or the appointment days, which I've had so many of lately, or even the days when everything shifts, the phone calls that come, the scan results. Those days we talk about a lot and they deserve to be talked about, right? They have their own weight. But a Tuesday, it's different. It's a day when you feel fine, when you go to work and you come home and you eat dinner and nothing really interrupts it. No appointments, no phone calls, no news, just a day. Man, do we need those. People who haven't lived with metastatic breast cancer might not understand why I dedicate a whole episode to a Tuesday. But I think you do. I think you know exactly why. Because that day, the unremarkable, nothing special Tuesday, is what we want. It's what we're hoping for when we go into a scan. It's what we're protecting when we're making choices about treatment and energy and how we're going to spend our days and our lives, right? We talk about the milestones all the time, the anniversaries, the moments that take your breath away. But what we actually want is the Tuesday, uninterrupted by metastatic breast cancer. I can still remember so clearly after beginning treatment and, getting through the initial, few months of living with metastatic disease, how I felt like my life was just like turned from black and white to color. I would call it technicolor, but I know that that would make me sound old and people younger than me wouldn't get it. But I grew up in an age where things were then at one point in technicolor, meaning even brighter than before. And I felt like that. After I had lived a few months with my diagnosis, it just changed my perspective on the little things. I was so aware of them. And it was so wonderful to be able to recognize the good that was happening despite all of the bad. We think in milestones, like we're taught to measure life in milestones, right? In the graduations and the weddings and the anniversaries, the big moments that mark time and give us something to point and say, wow, that mattered. And they do matter, right? I'm so excited. My daughter's about to get married. But I don't want to put too much pressure on just that day because I know that while the wedding is one day, it's the lifetime, the marriage that matters, right? It's the everyday. And I've learned after 27 years of living with metastatic breast cancer that the milestones are not our life, right? They're the punctuation marks. I love thinking about it that way. The life is everything in between. The ordinary Tuesdays stacked on top of each other where you actually lived, where you might have laughed and you might have gotten frustrated and you might have made dinner, or maybe you got takeout, or you drove somewhere, or you had a conversation, or you listened to a really great podcast. Those are the moments. When we look for meaning only in the milestones, we spend most of our lives waiting. And actually, I feel like we also spend our lives in kind of FOMO, the fear of missing out on these milestones, waiting for the next big thing. Yet, we have an opportunity to take advantage of the next moment, right? And the moments are what we want. People who have been told that our lives may not be as long as we thought they would be, right? Let's make use of the Tuesdays. Let's make use of the moments that we have. NBC has a way of making that very clear, very fast, because suddenly the Tuesday is not guaranteed. And you realize, maybe for the first time, that it was never nothing. It was always the whole thing. I think that perspective is a positive that comes from metastatic breast cancer. I really do. I would never call anything with NBC a gift, but the perspective gained, if utilized, is something that can make our lives richer, fuller, more lived than ever before. Here's the thing that NBC does that nobody really talks about. It makes you see the Tuesday. When you've lived with this disease long enough, you stop being able to take an ordinary day for granted. You notice things. The tiny flower coming up through the crack in the sidewalk, the laugh from across the room, somebody else's laugh, not even directed at you, mind you. You notice somebody enjoying a moment or having a good time. And it lands because you're just happy that they're happy. The way the light hits something at a certain time of a day, and you catch it and you think, wow, that is beautiful. I have this thing about sunsets. I realized in Florida, we go at Christmas time, and there's kind of this unofficial gathering every evening to watch the sunset. And after being diagnosed, I recognized, I just thought about it differently and I saw it differently, because I would see at this time that a lot of people would kind of come out there with a drink in their hand just to socialize and be together. And it was so beautiful. But there were other people who were like, oh no, I'm going to shower so that we can leave to go to dinner after that. And they missed the moment. And the other thing I think with sunsets that's just so much about life, right, is that some days you're going to get one and other days you're not. And you can't predict that. So it's like, how do I make time for these moments? How do I make sure that I am looking for an opportunity to be able to catch something really beautiful? We actually even put a sticker on the back of our boat that says catching sunsets. I love what they represent. I love knowing that sometimes life is just about being in the moment, and sometimes it's going to be beautiful, and other times it might be a dud, but it was still worth being a part of. It was still worth trying to get there, making time for it. Especially when so many people walk past those things, right? Not because they're bad people, just because they haven't taken the time to think about what do I want my life to look like? Like this one precious life, right? What do I want it to look like? And again, it's not the milestones. It's the Tuesdays. I don't love Tuesdays. I feel like a lot of Tuesdays I'm sort of tired. I have a to-do list, but I recognize that there's value in every day. And I want to make sure that my perspective on that is that I see the good in the normal moments. NBC is a brutal teacher, and I would never romanticize it. But one of the things it's given me, genuinely given me, is the ability to be present in a Tuesday. To know that a good, unremarkable day is not nothing. It is actually everything. But the fear is real. It is. The anxiety is real. The scan is coming, or it just happened, or the results are sitting in your portal and you haven't opened them yet because you're listening to me. The treatment has side effects that follow you into your ordinary days, not just on treatment days, whether you wanted them or not. The life that you thought you were going to have, the one without this, the one that was just going to be normal, that grief doesn't go away either. So the question isn't whether the fear exists. It absolutely does. The question is whether you let it consume the Tuesday. Because here's what I've learned. The fear will always find a reason to show up. There will always be something to worry about, something to watch, something that could mean something, right? Devastation beyond the next corner, right? If you wait until the fear is gone before you let yourself live the Tuesday, you'll wait forever. And we know that we don't have forever. So the fear and the Tuesdays have to coexist. It's not a failure of your mindset. That's just what living with metastatic disease looks like. And the practice, the real practice, is learning to do this. It's learning to put the fear down long enough to actually be in the day. Not permanently, not pretending it doesn't exist, just setting it aside for the moments, for the length of dinner, for the sunset, for the walk out to see the new flower. That's what we want to do. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to be in a Tuesday, even while living with MBC. Here's where it gets complicated, though, because most of us are carrying two lives at the same time, right? The life we have and the life we thought we would have. And believe me, I've spent a lot of time on this. I don't know that I even had conceived of the life that I thought I would have because I was 26 when I was diagnosed. But I had a pretty good idea of what I thought it might be. The life that we thought we would have did not include this. It was probably going to be simpler, less medical for sure, less uncertain. It would make us feel like we had planned better and prepared more and done all the things that we now feel like, oh, geez, I'm so far behind. There were going to be things that we assumed about our health, our time, our future, that we just don't get to assume anymore. And that loss is so real. It deserves to be named. You don't have to pretend that you made peace with it on some day and now it's fine. I feel like our community passes by this so quickly when we talk about living with metastatic disease. And it is a travesty for all of us to not acknowledge the things that we truly lost and we are still truly struggling with. But the life that you actually have, this one, the actual one, it still has Tuesdays in it. It still has dinners and laughs and flowers that come up through the cracks. It still has the moments that are worth noticing. And the grief for the life you thought you would have doesn't have to cancel out the life that you actually have. Both can be true. You can carry the grief and still eat the dinner. You can miss the version of your life that didn't include cancer and still find something real in the version that does. It's not settling. It's not giving up the life you wanted. It's just living the one you have while you have it. And I'm not trying to say hurry through life. No, expect years and be present. Don't rush, but be here. And I really believe that learning to do this, learning to live the life that we have, learning to hold both without letting one erase the other, it's one of the hardest and one of the most important things that we can do. So, what does a Tuesday actually look like for me? It depends on the Tuesday. I will say that. I don't like my weeks to look the same. Routine is not my favorite thing to do. But most Tuesdays, they look like coffee before I talk to anyone. That's most any day. It looks like moving my body even when I don't feel like it, and I never feel like it on a Tuesday, but I do it. Not because I'm trying to earn something, but just because I know how I feel when I don't do it. It looks like eating real food, maybe also eating a treat. It looks like doing work that I think matters, even on the days when I can't really figure out exactly what matters. It's not poetic or whimsical. It's not Instagram worthy. Can't tell you how many times I think, oh, I should put something on Instagram. And then I go, what would that be? I didn't do anything today. I just had a Tuesday. But there's a framework underneath it that I want to name because I think it's useful. Living well on an ordinary day isn't about feeling well. It's about being aligned. It's asking yourself, am I moving in the direction of the life I said I wanted? Not dramatically, not perfectly, just in general, directionally. It's recognizing that I feel how I feel today and what I can do to impact that or how I can take advantage of it. Some days that looks like choosing rest instead of pushing through. Some days it literally just looks like making a good lunch and going on a walk. Other days it's going to work, clocking in, doing your job so that you can financially support yourself and your family. All of these things are part of Tuesdays, right? The mistake that I made for a long time and that I see often is thinking that living well requires evidence. Like I have to be able to show something for the day I lived. But it doesn't require that you be able to point to something and say, see, that's it. That's what I did. This is what what I accomplished. Because the ordinary days don't necessarily give you that. They just give you the day. And the day is yours to use. And that day is what we wanted, right? The ordinary day. I'll be honest with you. There have been stretches of time in my life where I was surviving really well and living not very well at all. Like where I was managing my disease, checking all the boxes, doing all the things, and somewhere in the middle of it, I had lost the thread of what days were actually for, right? You kind of just get in parts of your life where you put your head down and you do the work. But just putting your head down makes us forget what we're here for and what we're looking for. And it's the moments. It's the time of living in the days that we have. Of uncertainty doesn't mean that you've solved the uncertainty. Not at all. It means that you've stopped waiting for it to resolve before you let yourself actually inhabit your life. That took me a long time to understand. And I still have to remind myself because the pull toward waiting, like waiting for the next thing, is so strong. Wait until the scan is clear. Wait until the side effects settle. Wait until things feel more stable. Wait until I have another $1,000 in the bank. And meanwhile, the Tuesdays are passing and they're never going to be more perfect. It's just about taking advantage of the days that we have. I was talking about putting my head down, one of my mantras, one of the things that I've come to live by is just the phrase, look up. Like, look up and look around. What is in front of you on a Tuesday? What can you see that brings you joy? Who can you engage with to bring a smile? What can you do to feel a little better? What do you see when you look up that makes you remember that the moment is now? The moment is here. A Tuesday is your life. It's the cup of coffee that you really enjoy, the unremarkable conversation that maybe meant everything to somebody else, the walk that you wanted to skip, but you did. It's the moment that you look out and see an interaction that just makes you smile. That's it. That's what living well actually looks like. And that's the Tuesdays that we are hoping for. And I think you can find always something worth noticing on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, in the hospital or in your home, at work, or out with friends. There's always something worth noticing. And the more you notice, the more you notice. And that helps your everyday become more intentional about living in the moment. So if you're in a Tuesday now, if today is a day when you feel okay, like just feeling okay is such a gift. Don't you agree? I can't even. I think of that so often when I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, oh man, you don't know how you're going to feel tomorrow. Let's do it today, right? When you have a day that you can be present and be in the moment, even when it's a regular day, do that. Be there. Enjoy it. I want you to know it's not a small thing. It is the thing. I know you know that. I know you know that it's not just about milestones in life. And I know that you understand that the day today is the important part. But I think it's easy to forget to recognize those important parts, right? To take a step back, to say, okay, how can I be here a little bit more? And honestly, this is a reminder for me as much as it is for you. Let's live this life that we are so aware we are lucky to be alive for, right? Let's live it with intention. Let's notice the flower. Let's catch the laugh across the room. Let's do something nice for somebody who needs it. Let's enjoy a dinner of, whatever it is, the simple things. Just let yourself be in it. Be in the days, especially when you're feeling well. Enjoy those days. Even if the fear's close by, let's knock it aside for a minute. Let's say, I'm going to take 10 minutes for myself. Fear doesn't have to be absent for the Tuesday to count. We can always get back on track and get back to enjoying the moments. You know how to do this. MBC has already taught you how to do this, whether you wanted it to or not. The milestones are going to keep coming, but your life is happening right now on a Tuesday, and it's worth showing up for. It just occurred to me that since the podcast comes out on Wednesday, that maybe I should have said Wednesday. But, I think you get it. I'll see you next week.